Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show where it's about TV shows that are dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season finale of Kung Fu. A great season finale. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up where the previous episode left off with Jilan, surrounded by Nikki, Henry, as well as all of the sisters of the monastery. But Jilan has the upper hand because she has people waiting outside of Nikki's house to kill her entire family if she doesn't cooperate. So I was looking, it didn't cross my mind, and I think that's so interesting that the wall necessary to cross the doorway to get to the forge, you need two people, a warrior and a guardian, because the wall, because I was like, okay, I'd understand 8, 1 for each weapon, but like this seems like there's way more. It's 16, 1 for each weapon, but also 1 associated with every guardian of that weapon. So that's why it's twofold, where you need both a warrior and a guardian. And so Nikki's kind of like, because Jilan, she's like, because of the text, I realized that you were the key. It can't just be one of us. It needs to be both of us. Ironically enough, the two mortal enemies, people who want Byung-gun for different reasons, are the key, you know? The kind of the good and evil. I mean, I guess that in itself is kind of the larger like element there of like, right, you kind of need this balance, I guess, to a certain extent. I mean, it's not even the good versus evil thing. I think it just happened to work out that way. Jilan being evil, Nikki being good. But I think it is just like a nut. You just need a warrior and a guardian, but still. And it was just simply by Nikki's instincts as a warrior. I mean, it's like kind of like the blood flowing through her led her in the right direction, and just Jilan just followed her lead. But I think maybe also like being a guardian kind of gave her a little instinct as well. But sadly for her, it's like, oh, going through all that, and nope. The energy of Byung-gun is gone, because there were sorcerers, a bloodline of sorcerers who infused the weapons. Whoever it is has Byung-gun with them, and it's like the sorcerer that's lived here the entire time is gone, but then Nikki remembers. And once again, this episode does a really good job of bringing up a lot of like questions, like even Nikki had about like, oh, who was that woman I saw on the road glowing green? It was like, oh, 2 years ago. It's like, oh, that's when Pei Ling visited me, and she found out about, right, I'm looking into the weapons, so she hid the sorcerer just in case I ever found my way here, which, I mean, she did, but she didn't realize, like, oh, when I came to raid here all that time, I didn't realize that, oh, the forge, the final piece of this puzzle was here the entire time. Back where it all kind of began, like I said, just very symbolic in that regard, but Pei Ling had hidden Zachi, the last remaining sorcerer of that bloodline, so obviously forcing Nikki to help, and Nikki getting Ryan and Althea's help, kind of using the code word. I like that, hella bad. And it's like, yeah, like that was kind of like anytime it was kind of a code between us. Anytime I was dealing with some bullies, hella bad would be my way of being like, oh yeah, there's some bullies, but it's like, right, but Althea figured out being like, no, that's for you being in danger, and then they realized, oh, there's people outside. Luckily, they have someone they could call in. It's like Evan showed up with some cops, got the bad guys arrested, so things worked out in that way. But I also love that Dennis's sister was like, no, I owe Nikki, so like if she needs like a distraction or whatever, like I'm down for it. I'm here for it. You know, it's like, right, I'm used to pissing my mom off, so you know. Also, you gotta give it to Ryan handling everything. Mainly it was Nikki, but through proxy of Ryan, you know, they were getting everything ready for the wedding. And it shows you how prepared Nikki was. I mean, not only did she have the binder, she had the backup tea or whatever. Because I love that their grandma was like drinking the tea. It's like, I didn't think she'd probably end up drinking it. Like, it's just like, it seems like she's going through so much tea. I feel like someone who's so about tradition and stuff like that wouldn't be drinking the tea that seems like it's necessary. Well, to be fair, I don't think it's 100% tradition. It's specifically because, like, I think it was like Dennis's grandmother really likes that tea, so that's what that mainly was about. So, but regardless, obviously, Jilan wasn't the only one that came to the monastery. So did Russell, and you know they end up sneaking off with the weapons. And, well, after Althea pointed them in the right direction and also let Nikki know everything's okie dokie. So it's like, my family's safe. My attachments are my strength. They're not the weakness that you make them out to be. Once again, she's alone. She's not fighting for anyone but herself, but Nikki's fighting for everyone. She's trying to end all this so that her family's never in trouble and never in danger. But they end up, everyone scatters and goes after Zachi, which Russell already knew where she was. I mean, he just didn't have all the weapons to get Byung-ga, but it's like the conversation is like, oh, I came to you a few months ago. So, which part of me is wondering is like, is that around the time Jilan attacked the monastery? Which is so interesting. Like, everyone had a different piece to the puzzle. Nikki had a piece of the puzzle. Jilan has her pieces to the puzzle, and then Russell had his as well. So it's interesting how that ended up working out. But by the time they got there, like, he ends up killing Zachi just because it's like, if you're not going to release the energy willingly, I'm going to force you to by killing her. And it's interesting too because at first you see like Russell didn't feel it, but Jilan and Nikki both did. Like when Byung-ga was released, and it's like okay, and I wonder if they weren't there, would the energy have even gone to him? Because it's probably like, no, you have no bearing on this. Those two do, because they are a warrior and guardian specific. Because that's why when the energy split, I thought it immediately was going to go to Nikki because like, oh, she's the warrior, she's the chosen one. But it's like, no, it went to Jilan as well. Because, and as, you know, Pei-Ling brings up, it's neither good nor evil. So it's not picking like, oh, you're good. It's like, no, it goes to whoever. I just find it funny, like, despite everything Russell did, he didn't get it. Like, it's not like, a three-way split. It's like, no, it's split two ways between a guardian and a warrior. That's why I'm like, would it have even gone to Russell if they weren't there because he's not the rightful... But I guess, who knows, maybe his plan was never to put it necessarily inside of himself. Maybe it just would have been a thing of, no, I'm going to put it in something and hold on to it. Like, maybe that's what the plan was. I would assume it was supposed to go inside of him, but it's like, right. I guess in a place when there's no proper reciprocal for the... receptacle is kind of the word. The vessel is a better word for the power to go through. It would go to someone that's not necessarily meant for it. Like I said, so it probably would have gone to him, but it was just something I thought was interesting. And it is interesting, like immediately, like the worlds they end up in. And I think it's so, Pei-Ling describes it as these are the worlds, like, because that's like a world where Nikki didn't go to China and come back, and it's like, right, her her dad has a black eye because she never went to the monastery, came back and helped deal with what her family was dealing with. Obviously, her mom's more focused on her career, and it's like, so that path of their life is still, you know, Ryan ends up not working at the clinic, which, you know, he was able to help so many people, but now it's all about, how much money I'm making. He's not, you know, probably not being true to himself. And even same thing for Althea. She's more so putting on airs in front of Dennis's mother, like, like trying to be who she was pretending to be beforehand, instead of just, you know, now Dennis's mom sees her for who she is and accepts her for who she is, you know? Obviously, she doesn't know Henry. Her and Evan are still together, so realizing, like, right, this is the life that was kind of paved out before her, before she kind of ended up choosing her own life. Jilan and, you know, Kerwin's there, and it's like, you know, no, I have something more important, you know, than being with you, Kerwin. She's happy to see him, but it's like, no, this is too important. I've sacrificed too much to get to where I am. And each one of them meets Pei-Ling, and each one has a different conversation. I liked the Jilan and Pei-Ling one because it is like, no, you still have a choice. Like, the fact is, and I I mean, this is always something I'm going to attribute to Iron Fist. I know a lot of people don't like the show Iron Fist. I do, but regardless, this isn't about that. But it's that similar thing of, you think getting this power will fix you. Jilan or Danny are in that same regard. And I thought that, to me, that was one of my favorite parts of, like, Iron Fist, and thinking, like, oh, I became the Iron Fist because I thought it would fix me because I'm broken inside. And the same thing for Jilan. She's like, she thought all that power would make up for the pain she's going through in her life, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. Like, all of it's kind of tied together. But it's like, Pei-Ling was trying to say, like, you never got to know our mom. She never got to teach you, like, I think love is what she's going to say. But it's like, right, power doesn't erase that pain. The only thing that can is love. And you found love, sister. Like, the fact is, it's not too late to change. You can make another choice. But for Jilan, it's like, no, like, she's too determined. She's going too far down this path of, like, I can't turn back now. I've given and I've sacrificed too much. This power is mine, you know, by my birthright in her mind, you know. But then Nikki, who's on the opposite side of the spectrum, doesn't want the power at all. It's like, no, like, you know, this isn't supposed to be my power. Even finding out that, like, the Pei-Ling she's seen has kind of been the Pei-Ling that's kind of manifested as, like, her subconscious manifested. But this is, like, the real Pei-Ling who's telling her, yes, I knew you were a warrior from the beginning, but I didn't tell you everything because it was a lot to handle. Like, I knew that before you could even become who you're supposed to become, the warrior you're supposed to become, you needed to make peace with your family. But I didn't know we had such short amount of time, and I regret not telling you what I should have told you. But more so than anything, Nikki's just happy, like, wait, how are you here? And she's like, I told you, there are just some things in this world that can't be explained, Nikki. Magic, you know? And for her to be reunited with her Shifu, like, for real this time, and not just, like, her subconscious manifesting, like, right, the lessons that she learned from her Shifu, but this is just her Shifu herself. Because last episode, it's like, did you know? And it's like, I don't have the answer to that because I'm not really Pei-Ling, but this is the real Pei-Ling. So she's like, yeah. But saying that, because Nikki plans on destroying Byung-gun because, like, no one should have all that power. But it's like, right, is that the choice you really want? Because Byung-gun is neither good nor evil. It is this power. It is a power of transformation and change. And at the end of the day, like, this world needs it. Like, what you saw was a world where Byung-gun didn't exist. That spark, that change inside of your family, like, that's what allows people to go down the paths and everything. It's like, that was the path that was kind of chosen for you. You've been someone who's always chosen your own path. That's kind of Nikki's greatest strength, is choosing her own path. So you have to decide what you're going to do. So both her and Jilan wake up, go toe-to-toe, supercharged, breaking some, like, rock and stuff as they go toe-to-toe. Obviously, the weapons aren't special anymore without the power of Byung-gun. Like, they're regular weapons, so they break. So they've all... Because we even saw, like, it seemed like the weapons were kind of rusted by the time, like, they were infused with the sorcerer's power. Like, I think that's what gave them their sheen, and they're like, well, it seemed like some of them were, but maybe that was just, like, early days of forging them. It's all it was. But Nikki, it's a little Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and also makes me think of Into the Badlands. But Nikki had, chosen her path of, the difference between her and Jilan is that she's willing to let it go. Because Jilan's trying to hold on to it for dear life. And Nikki, once again, got to get your badass pose in. Like, just kind of like that, like, all right, like the final fight stance of, like, let's end this. And with every blow, she's not only letting it go, but I think she's, like, pushing out the power of Jilan. And so with one final flying kick, it's like, and I love that coming full circle because Ryan brought it up, like, Nikki, you were flying. She's like, no, you're crazy. He's like, nah, this time you were even higher than before. And in that moment, gets rid of Byung-gun, or at least it travels and returns to the earth. All the plants, the special plants that grow because of it, die. And so, because of that, like, Jilan's just kind of like, go ahead, end it. I have nothing left. And Nikki's like, I'm not you, and lets her live. And I think that's so interesting because, like, Jilan legitimately doesn't. Like, she cast everything aside. She doesn't have her family. She killed her sister. She cast her uncle aside. She killed Kerwin. She found love and let it go. And just, now she's all alone. She gets arrested. Immediately, my brain was like, are we going to sit, like, is this the last time we'll actually see Jilan? I don't think... I'm curious. Like, maybe she'll make future appearances and stuff like that. Like, Nikki kind of has to turn to her for guidance or help or something. Because, like, right, you are a guardian. You're, like, the only remaining guardian alive, like, associated with all this. Because she does have all the scrolls and stuff like that. So, not less, like, Nikki and them end up finding it. But I doubt that. Like, she's the only one that's probably more to know about things. But I think it's so interesting, too, because... the thing I was wondering is, like, is she going to become a Zuko of this story? I actually think it'd be pretty dope if she became, like, the Zuko and had an opportunity, like, like, she made her choice and everything. Like, who knows if it's cemented or whether she'll have a chance of, like, finding a pathway to redemption. I'd like her to be able to have a redemption or, like I said, a Zuko moment. I mean, granted, it won't make up for all the people she's killed, but maybe she can begin. I don't know. It'd be pretty dope if they went down that route. But if they decided not to, I'd understand too. But I don't know. Like, if her and Nikki are kind of forced to work together like Aang and Zuko, I think that'd be freaking sick. But, if they decide not to go down that route, that's fine too. But that's just immediately where my brain was going. But yeah, she gets arrested. Day was saved. And obviously, they buried the rest of the weapons, and they ended up bringing the sword back to the monastery where it'll be left. I mean, granted, it doesn't have the power anymore, but it's still symbolic of, like, Pei-Ling, and they're able to kind of, by bringing it back here because, the sword belongs to their family anyway, so let it kind of rest here, which was Pei-Ling's new home, So, being able to return home after all of that, victorious, reunited with her family. Even Althea being like, okay, Dennis, I got to tell you about the truth about my sister. She wasn't sick. She was in China. And it's like, okay, so what's that going to turn into? Because it's like, are you going to tell him about Bianca and you're going to bring all that up? Or are you just going to be like, actually, my sister's like a badass warrior. She had to deal with something. She actually went to China and got like this murderous international warrior arrested. It's like, that's the whole thing. So I'm obviously like the wedding went on without a hitch because of Nikki, because she made them promise before she went to face Jilan one more time, like, promise me you'll have an amazing day. I love you guys, don't worry about me, just have a great day. And it's like, right. I love the whole thing of like, right. Grandma's spending a lot of time with Dennis, and then Althea adding the line, she's trying to steal my husband. But yeah, like, nice photos and everything. And even Nikki kind of like talking to Ryan about everything. It's like, right. She's like, yeah, Bianca, not good nor evil, so I returned it to the world. And even him be like, what does that mean? And she's like, not entirely sure herself. Even the fact is that she's like, I feel, not everything's the same. Like, she's like, I feel different. And the question is, she's like, and even saying like, I guess we'll just have to find out. But being like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Like, you have to find out what changes happened to Nikki. She doesn't think she's going to be flying high like she did when she fought Jilan. But now it's like, what has something unlocked? Like, are we like, is there something that awakened inside of her? Like, when we see her next time, like, she'll be even more of a badass because of it. Who knows? But for her, it's like something has changed. Maybe it's because her destiny is shifted. Like, this was only step one into destiny. I mean, it seems like this is part one of something much greater anyway, But it's like, right, do you have like superpowers or something, like super strength, like telekinesis or something like that? Only time will tell. At the same time, there's a thing with Evan and his person who works at his office is like, oh yeah, like, here's these files about Russell Tan, and he's like, no, let's cut the games. It's like, the fact is, Russell Tan has not only been buying up properties, but people as well, politicians, even our boss. I was like, I figured as much, because the moment, like, it's because Evan's like, wait, she's looking in the files, like, I'm not even working on. It's like, yeah, I know his boss has beef with him because of, like, that case from a couple episodes ago, but I'm like, what is this? It's like, right. It's like, apparently, I figured as much. Like, she specifically was keeping the Russell files because she was probably trying to remove stuff or like keep stuff hidden. It's like, right, our boss is under his thumb as well, and like, it made me go like, wait, so the person is she like the person you're talking to, like, actually something else? Like, she's actually here to investigate? Like, is she secretly like an agent or something from like a different like a police agency or something like that, pretending just to be like working at this all for one? Just like, no, I'm actually here because I've known for a while our boss is a I came working here to get the truth revealed that, like, maybe she's one of the people that's been screwed over by Russell. I mean, that he's kind of the reason why Jilan became who she became. So maybe there's no telling how many people Russell Tan is hurt in the process of doing all that he's wanted to, whether it's just Bianca, which it seems like that's just the first step of everything. But I'm curious to see where that whole situation, how that plays out, like, because they left that ambiguous of like her circumstances, like, right, are we going to find out that she's something more, or is it just going to be like, no, I just happened to, like, I don't know, like, is she going to end up being like, no, she's not with some like police agency or something, maybe she's like a journalist or something that like snuck there to find out the truth. I don't know. But along with, speaking of Russell Tan, interestingly enough, we find out once again, get an answer to something we hadn't gotten an answer to before, and it was who buried Meiji, and it was her daughter. Nikki has a cousin she's not aware of, which that's going to hit Mei Li in a certain way, because it's like, there's going to be someone out there that's going to remind her of her sister. There's a part of my sister still alive out there. So now we found out, like, oh, I guess maybe that's another thing she was hiding as well. It makes you wonder, like, where had Meishi's daughter been the entire time? Like, I don't know if that's her actually returning to the grave, like, at the end of this series, or is that supposed to be her, like, before, like, after her mom died, she, like, that was her burying her mom, like, all right, and leaving and disappearing into the world. Who knows? But the way Russell makes it sound like, yeah, this is just the beginning. that there's Bianca was just kind of one piece to this larger puzzle. Now, I'm wondering, like, what's the whole plan? Like, hey, I'm going to get Bianca, but that's not the end. Like, I need it to unlock something else. It actually being out there in the world actually does the same thing. It's like, regardless of anything, it's already unlocked. Maybe having the power yourself is an added bonus of like, right, I have the power and I'm going to get whatever this unlocks. But Bianca being released into the world, sure. That energy is always going to be there. It can't be destroyed, but it's going to be impossible for someone to gather all of it because it's just in the earth now. It's resonating with everyone on that level. So it's like, it's too scattered for anyone to ever bring it back together. But maybe it's unlocked the second stage into whatever this is. It was the key necessary for something more, something that Jilan wasn't aware. Once again, they dropped that so casual, well, not casually, but they set that up last episode where Russell was like, this is just the beginning. Hell, even Kerwin's still alive. That's surprising. So maybe there's still hope for that redemption for Jilan. But now that things have turned out the way they did with Kerwin, like now that even if he is alive, it's like, oh, there's a benefit of him being alive, but still it doesn't take away you did try and kill him. You chose your lust for power to try and fix your pain, like rather than giving, like rather than kind of letting go and like embracing love like Nikki did. Like she was able, once again, just the parallels of like she couldn't let love heal her like Nikki did, because love healed not only her but her family as well. So, but I'm curious, like, is Kerwin just going to end up being more like? You know what I was just thinking about? I don't know if that's going to be it. The lady from the law firm that Evan's talking to at the end of the episode, I'm like, you don't think she's one of Russell's kids, do you? I just thought about that, like, because I was bringing that up, like, we've never met any of Kerwin's other siblings, but I'm like, could she be a 10? And that she's trying to destroy her father because it's like, my dad's a terrible human being, like what he's done to us. Like Kerwin kind of rebelled the way he did. Who's to say none of his other children haven't as well? I mean, some might be. I mean, maybe that's something we'll see in the future. Are these other siblings? So now that that's kind of been taken care of, it's like, that'd be interesting if she ends up being like. It didn't even cross my mind till now. Maybe she's a 10. Maybe not. It just like I said, just a possibility floating through my head. But the other thing I was wondering is like I said, if Kerwin is going to be more like his father now, kind of be like, right, whatever you say, father. Like he tried to break free of that cycle, and now it's like, right, my dad saved my life, so maybe on some level he does care for me, but maybe he's always going to feel indebted to his father now. So it's like, whereas like he was steered away from that path. I mean, to be fair, it's not like Kerwin's a good person. He's kind of bad like Jilan and his dad. But once again, maybe there could be redemption for him and Jilan. Like, I don't know. If Kerwin being alive makes me feel like you could definitely do more with Jilan if they decided to. Like I said, I hope they do. I'd love to see that character still around. Like I said, play like a very Zuko role. I mean, I guess like she'd be more like Zuko's sister in I don't know. I feel like she's personality-wise, as well as just like why she does what she does, is very similar to Zuko. It's like everything Zuko did is like, oh, I want my father's love. So like, I guess Kerwin's kind of the Zuko in that situation too, but also like, it was pain was the reason why like Jilan did everything she did. That's what. Regardless, we'll have to wait and see on that regard. But at the end, Nikki's like, like she. Not sure what's next for her. But as her and Henry are walking, you do see a flower growing up, kind of representing, I guess, Bianca being out there. I don't know if that's supposed to be like a good omen or a bad omen. Good omen in the sense that, hey, Bianca's in the world now, and this is all about, right, there's a great change coming. Maybe because that's what's supposed to represent transformation. So it's supposed to represent the transformation that is Nikki and the lives of the people around her. Or it could just be symbolic in that change in the world is coming, or it's supposed to be specific to the change has already come, but there's going to be an even greater change coming around the horizon. So Kung Fu has been renewed for a second season, which I'm excited about because I'm really curious to see where they take season 2. I figured the way we were setting up Russell, that he's going to be like the main antagonist of season 2, whatever it is that he's after. I mean, he's been buying up all this. You know, Jilan's kind of had her own operation, but it seems like Russell's on an even larger scale, and he's been on this larger scale for a while. So everything he's probably dedicated his entire life to has probably been for whatever it is that he needed Bianca to be the opening stage for whatever's to come. But it's definitely going to be interesting. I'm curious, like, you know, Nikki's probably going to get other cases where she's helping people, other stuff like that. Also, like, you know, what's next for her family with all this, because now that everything is kind of resolved, but what's the next stages? There's still the whole Althea thing that still never got resolved. The whole Chase, was it Matheson? That whole situation, like, we'll probably be dealing with that a lot more next season. Maybe you'll see some familiar faces from this season, people that Nikki helped out. We'll see in the future as well. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what the second season has in store for us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.